What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about TikTok and the movement to ban it in the United States. As some of you might know, China has already taken steps to ban TikTok, or at least the TikTok equivalent in China, from being able to be used by teens, and it has been severely limited to only like science experiments and very educational social memes and media. So this would be kind of eliminating all aspects of consumerism or of like what do you call them, these people that are on the platforms, influencers, I guess you would call them, right? I don't really know because I'm not a big fan of the whole social media movement, but anyway, I understand that, you know, people have freedom and should be able to do what they want with their own time and with their own devices, and that's something that I'm completely on board with. The biggest issue here is what could be looked at as the TikTok as the Chinese Trojan horse. So that's kind of like the big thing that a lot of people are talking about. But this should be talked about in a different way. It's not necessarily what I think is being, you know, China's trying to destroy us from the inside. I think it's just the ability to give people free choice and then allowing that free choice to succumb, especially in a world where ADHD and people are really just extremely uh, taken over by these quick moving or fast moving videos and these you know, very short attention spans. They need things pumped into them consistently, and so this means that people that want to watch social media, or like, you know, back in the day you could scroll through Facebook or all these different things, but because TikTok is such short little videos and they're so addicting in terms of like, because they're so quick to consume that you can watch 50 or 60 of them and it feels like you haven't watched a lot, but really you've been sitting there for 2 or 3 hours. And this is the issue with TikTok and the issue that a lot of people are bringing on. So what I'm going to do is just play a quick short clip from this guy Moon, and he talks about what he thinks is the relevancy to the rise of this platform and how it became so powerful, and why we should kind of be aware of where it came from, and maybe what the goals of the company are, if there are any, right? Maybe it's just a company trying to make money and that's it. But let's look at this and you can decide for yourself.
The first step was for Chinese tech companies like ByteDance and Tencent to start buying huge shares in social media sites. Sites like Reddit, Discord, and Snapchat, because this allowed companies like ByteDance to have a key role in company policy as a majority shareholder. But of course, buying shares in companies wasn't going to be enough. How could China create an app so addicting that it would outcompete every single social media site? To figure this out, they needed to test this technology in their own back door. So ByteDance's new venture would be with an app called Douyin, or in other words, the Chinese version of TikTok. ByteDance tested out Douyin to make sure the technology would be effective enough, and in less than a year, Douyin took over China, gaining enormous popularity, with 1 in 10 Chinese people having downloaded the app in less than a year. All because of this specially developed AI technology. It was now time for ByteDance to go global. The next step for ByteDance was a sophisticated marketing campaign, spending $3 million a day in marketing alone just in the American market. ByteDance would then get celebrities to join in. It would saturate the media and advertising world. You'd even see the NBA signing a multi-year partnership with TikTok. And with the TikTok logo being stamped on every exported video, you'd then see this marketing begin to snowball. You'd see all these influencers on YouTube Shorts and Instagram posting their TikTok videos. You'd see celebrities promoting their garbage on TikTok. But marketing alone wasn't enough. So the next step for TikTok's growth was through the acquisition process. In this time, ByteDance noticed that fellow Chinese company Musical.ly was getting a foothold in the psyche of Generation Z. So rather than these companies trying to outcompete each other for ultimately the same goal, TikTok bought up Musical.ly for $900 million. This allowed TikTok to utilize Musical.ly's core selling point, the ability to go viral. Musical.ly provided a platform with an algorithm that rewards content above all else. Anyone could post some content and go viral the next day. Because of that, Gen Z rushed to it, allured by the prospects of fame, attention, and quick dopamine hits, using its AI technology to learn how to create the most addictive user interface possible.
Now, what you might immediately be kind of thinking is that TikTok has taken this ability to produce dopamine from the human chemical reaction to watching such stimulating videos or content, and that has then given them the ability to harness this kind of viral mentality, especially with influencers, especially with these young teens that look at the world and just say, hey, I don't really want to work. I don't really want to do anything specifically hard that's going to make me have to like learn a skill or have something that's valuable to the world. I would rather just sit here and make videos and make money. I mean, who wouldn't, right? And this is the biggest issue with TikTok, is that it provides this kind of escape from the real world. And I know what you're going to say. A lot of people are like, well, I'm an influencer. I make millions of dollars a day. And you know, I'm not escaping. I have the greatest life I could have ever lived. And all I do is talk into a phone. And this is the kind of conundrum you're in, right? Is that it's provided a future for a lot of people. And a lot of people have been able to do a lot of positive things, at least for themselves. Maybe not for society. But maybe them getting more money allows them to build people up around them, and then that generally leads towards a better community. At least that's what you would think. The biggest issue here is that TikTok and the people that are associated with it tend to be much more individualistic, and I think the kind of way in which it promotes itself, it's all about individualism, and it's not about community. It's not about trying to build people up. It's literally about trying to jump on any trend and make as much money as you can before you kill it and move on to the next one, right? So what this talks about here, this article, is it talks about how TikTok's China equivalent limits kids to 40 minutes a day. So people under 14 will also be blocked from using Douyin, the Chinese version, between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So all night they cannot use that platform, and during the day they're limited to 40 minutes, kids under 14. And you can see down here where it talks about the fact that not only is it limiting all of these things, but in the youth mode, we have also prepared wonderful content for everyone, such as novel and interesting science experiments, exhibitions in museums and galleries, beautiful scenery across the country, explanations of historical knowledge, and so on. The ByteDance blog reads. And so the biggest thing here is, why are they doing this? Well, in many cases, they're doing this because they've noticed that teens are very susceptible to influence, specifically from people who are not their family or are not immediately surrounding them, right? So if there's people out there like, oh, like, and this kind of, when I was watching that clip from Moon, it just made me think of crypto and how like this whole FTX thing where, you know, they were promoting with all these big celebrities. You had Tom Brady. I think even Kevin Hart was on there, just like he was in for TikTok, right? And they get paid millions of dollars to promote these you know, social media platforms or these crypto platforms, whatever they are, and they don't really know anything about them. They just know that they're getting paid tons of money and they're going to promote it. But the reality is that they're trying to push a certain reality on the world, and they're trying to force people into this new world of like very, very short attention spans, very, very easily accessible information with not much with not much substance behind it. It might have a ton of content, but it has no actual substance. So a lot of it is, it's all surface, right? And you'll start to see more and more that the people that follow these trends or that try to become influencers or spend their day watching TikTok become very unmotivated in life, right? And a lot of times it's because of these constant dopamine hits that they're getting. Just like if you were addicted to, you know, alcohol, or just like if you were addicted to crack cocaine, constantly hitting that would give you that dopamine lift, so you'd be happy. But then when you don't have it, when you're without it for a day, or you have to go to work and you're not getting those quick hits, you're miserable. Or you look at the world and be like, man, I hate this job, I don't want to do this, I just want to make videos all day, right? So these things are very relevant to understanding what TikTok is doing to the youth today, right? And I'm not the person that's sitting here saying you should ban it, you should ban it. No, I just think that we should be aware of where people are today and how teens are very susceptible to these kind of unsolicited influences, specifically from people that are very, I don't want to call them stupid, but let's just say they're not very well educated, and everything they've gotten kind of very easily from not doing a lot of work. And I'm not saying that other people can't do this or you can't make a future from it. All I'm saying is that this is a fad, just like 20 years ago you had Yahoo. That was like the biggest website in the world, and today nobody really uses it. And that's because it's a fad. It comes and it goes, just like Snapchat and Instagram and all these things. Yeah, they came, but now people barely use them, and those that do are people that are specifically using them for what they're good for, right? Like Instagram's good for pictures and for sharing kind of your stories, whereas like Snapchat is kind of just for like hitting on girls, and that seems to be what the reality of it is, or like hitting on guys, whatever side of the aisle you swing towards, it's fine. But the reality becomes that TikTok, it's really just about constant dopamine. It's really about filling this addiction of constantly getting a hit, because you hate life. Life sucks. There's not good things outside. You go outside, people are mean to you, or people are trying to rip you off, and there's just nothing really good in this life. But you can sit there on your phone for a couple hours and makes you feel happy because you can watch other people either be happy or do things silly, or things that just make you laugh. So anyway, one thing here is that whether this is a Trojan horse, as a lot of people are saying, as this article points out, right? It's trying to say that like this idea where like they give you a gift. The Greeks gave the Trojans a gift. It was like, hey, here's a horse where you guys lost the war, or we couldn't beat you, we couldn't sack the city, so we're gonna give you a horse. And then, as a gift, and we're gonna leave because we couldn't win. But in reality, all the Greeks had hidden themselves inside the Trojan horse, and then at night, when all the Trojans went to bed, they jumped out of the horse and killed everybody and took control of the city. So basically, it's just like hiding something that allows you to take over. After you've brought it into your country or your city or whatever, right? That's kind of the idea of the Trojan horse. So enwrapped in millions of comedic, cute, and catchy little videos, TikTok has slipped in deftly under our defenses and found a home behind America's security walls. So this is an article that is very much trying to say that like this is 100% a Trojan horse, and China is trying to take down the United States from inside. So the biggest question here is this just some conservative kind of guy that's like, or like conservative think tank that's just trying to push hate or fear mongering towards China or towards the East? Let's just say the kind of BRICS nations. Obviously nobody likes Russia right now, but there used to be a big unity between like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Korea, and a lot of these other countries called themselves the BRICS nations, right? So today, that's kind of, with Russia doing its own thing, they still kind of are allied, but there's a lot of disconnect now with what's happening in Ukraine. But one thing, that is sure is that we're still kind of at a technology war. We've always been a technology war, right? And it says here how like the U.S. is suspicious of China. You constantly hear things, I know in Canada there was a big thing with like Huawei, the Chinese thing where like they were trying to steal information or use it to hack into our personal information in our kind of databases. So that's something that is constantly being considered. And even back in 2020, President Trump was talking about banning TikTok because he was seeing the fact that this was trying to take control not only of people's brains and like their kind of lifestyles, but it was trying to impose this kind of filtering or this siphoning off of information as people were more and more accepting it, and they were kind of bringing it into their life. China was able to get more and more data from the United States and from users, right? Because not only do they get your searches, your tendencies, they know exactly, they could literally sell you anything they wanted because they know exactly the kind of things you're into. So anybody that was looking to buy this data, they could sell and make a ton of money, right? And this is why these things are relevant, because some people might not care, be like, oh, I don't care if somebody has my data or the things I'm looking at on TikTok. It's not a big deal. But to those people that are looking to sell you things, it is a big deal, and they're looking to pay big money for this information, right? So this article just kind of goes into a lot of things, talking about like a lot of these other companies like Meta, comparing it to Meta, and how like Meta is obviously an American company. And it's talking about how like Facebook had its own share of problems, layoffs, poor morale, investigations, multi-state litigation, so all of these things, right? and the fact that Facebook has now lost to screen time to TikTok, and TikTok is now like the most used app throughout the world. And this is kind of something that is relevant because a lot of people are trying to put their money into Meta or into, Tencent or any of these companies. Obviously, with ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, you have a lot of people looking to invest in these companies, people not only from America but in China, and a lot of these companies are trading on the United States Stock Exchange. So they have to be relevant, or I should say they have to be transparent, but a lot of times there are issues there as well. And this is another issue with Chinese companies, is that they've been notoriously bad at reporting their revenues and their... So this is why we need to be aware of all these things. This is why all of these things need to be relevant in your brain. And when we talk about banning these things, like it says down here, what should the US do, right? And it talks about how it has the highest engagement rate per post. It boasts over 1 billion monthly active users and is the most popular social media app for American kids and teens. 61% of American TikTok users are women. 80% of its revenue comes from China. It earned 19 billion in gross profits in 2020. So this is an interesting one right here, right? 80% of its revenue comes from China. That's an interesting one. And obviously with China having a lot more people, it kind of makes sense. But the fact that I actually think that not only is it making more money from China, but it is actually doing more damage to mental health in the United States because of the lack of restrictions. Because it is such a free society, people are given their free will to make the decisions, but also to take in the pleasures with no real hindrances, right? So people can have as much pleasure as they want because they're not restricted. So that then leads them to overexsumption, and then to addiction, and then to basically damaging their own mental health, even maybe their physical health, because they're so addicted to these social media platforms. So at the end of the day, though, this all comes down to free will, and the ability to have free will is obviously something that we want to defend, being a free society, and this is something we want to allow to exist. So we don't want to be banning something because of the fact that it is destroying the mental health of teens. This is something that is not even a question. But the reality becomes we can't just ban it because of this, because then those conservatives, those kind of right-wing authoritarians win. They win because this is exactly what they want, right? This is why they're pushing this. This is why obviously this website is probably a conservative paper. I don't know much about it, The Hill, but I can almost guarantee you it's a conservative paper, and it's trying to push a very conservative viewpoint. Now, I agree sometimes with conservative viewpoints, but I also consider myself to be a very liberal when it comes to freedom and when it comes to like these kind of things, right? Because just because it is killing people's brains doesn't mean we need to ban it, because what we need to do is just educate people, make people more aware, or do like what China has done and restrict teens under 14 to only being able to see science experiments, museum exhibits, and things that actually help them develop their brain. Just like any preteen is not able to consume alcohol legally or cannabis today because it could destroy their brain. I think the same thing could be seen for TikTok. Basically, because it is so damaging and so addictive, it becomes like a drug. But at that same sense, I think that needs to be done more as parents, and I think parents need to be the ones that step up. So it's kind of a sad reality we have today, because I feel like with the loss of the economy, more and more people are forced to work 3 or 4 jobs, and they're unable to take proper care of their kids. So their kids end up being raised by TikTok or by social media or by YouTube, and so many instances, and this is even with even wealthier people. Sometimes that's even worse, because they're just spending their day traveling. They're off in the Bahamas or off in the Caymans, and their kids sitting at home stuck on their phone because it's they have all the money in the world. They don't need to worry, and why work when you can just do that? Or why have some sort of dream or vision when you can just watch everybody else live out their dreams and visions on these platforms, right? So anyway, like I said, I think it's the parents that need to step in. I don't think we should be banning anything. I think these are all just fear mongering moves, but at the same time, the things they're saying should be thought about. You should be at least contemplating why these things are happening, right? Why are they pushing these things the way they are? How are they able to get so powerful, as we've seen in that video? It wasn't just by coincidence, right? This is an intentional move, and obviously any corporation is going to spend money and try to promote themselves to gain influence. But with how big TikTok has become and how damaging it is to mental health for young teens, it's something that parents need to be understanding. They need to be researching it. They need to be studying it. And they need to be saying, hey, and obviously trying to ban your kid from using it is not going to work out well. But what can happen is just an understanding or a talk to say, hey, look, I don't necessarily mind using TikTok as long as you're going to be a constructive person, as long as you're going to get things done in your life, and it's not going to hold you back. It's not going to make you this, unambitious, lazy couch potato that just wants to live vicariously through TikTok, right? So this is the main concern, and this is one thing parents and a conversation I think that they need to have with their kids, and I think that, that will make it probably not way better, but it will make it better, and it will start to see this trend die down, as I think it is a fad, and it will kind of go as people kind of lose interest and these kind of influences start to fade. But at the same time, these things are things we need to understand, and we need to be vigilant towards the protection of our own mental health and our own kind of societal influences, right? So anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.